Hi, I'm Mitchell Ringos. Welcome to Word for Word, where we offer you an in-depth look at some of our interviews with newsmakers from across the Northwest. Work is well underway on the over $4 million rehabilitation work being done at the Fort William Stadium. City officials say they are still on track to hit their original deadline, with track and turf just weeks away from being installed. A lot going on. The turf is removed. Can you kind of just talk about what current stage we're in the process of construction?
Sure, they've done the drainage work and the fine grading on the turf side. Carpel will be in next week, and they'll be working around the clock, or 7 days a week at least, probably under the lights as well, to start laying the turf. And then shortly after the turf team comes in, the track team will start prepping and laying the track. So we're still on track to get this complete early September for the users. So.
Obviously a lot of upgrades going on. I know the scoreboard also take it down right now. Is there any date of when you're going to get that added?
So the scoreboard is already on site. Right now they're just doing the formwork for the foundations. So they're currently doing that formwork now. They'll pour the concrete in the next week or two and then let that cure, and they'll start putting the sign together. So sign is no concern either.
And obviously you're saying still looking at that September timeline, so construction obviously going fairly well. How has the process kind of been overall?
It's been good. The contractor's been good to work with. Everybody's been pretty responsive, so overall I'd say it's been a positive experience for everybody.
And this Fort William Stadium is used for many things, not only for high school sports, but really for the community as a whole. Everyone loves this place. Big upgrades coming here. How are these upgrades going to look when they're finished, and how do you think the community is going to respond?
I think especially the track is long overdue for renewal and refresh, but also having the new turf being smoother as opposed to wrinkled and damaged the way it was, as well as the scoreboard is going to be very impressive. It's going to have cameras and things of that nature for replays and for video. Everything's going to be LED, so that's going to be similar to the upgrade we did a few years ago at the Gardens. We'll have modern scoreboards, and as well the brains of the operation will be updated as well inside the booth. So lots of exciting things coming forward.
The Thunder Bay Port Authority will be looking for its next leader. Its current CEO, Tim Heaney, has announced his retirement. Heaney has served in the role for nearly 20 years and says the port is in great shape for his successor.
Can you just talk a little bit about, I guess, the announcement that was made on Friday?
Well, it's actually announcing my retirement after 30 plus years with the port. So yeah, it's kind of a milestone. And when I started here in '91, I really didn't think I'd be here this long, but time flies. So over the years, I think some of the most memorable things to me were the formation of a strategic plan for the port. Basically to increase and diversify marine cargo. I think we made some measurable differences there. I mean, some of the newest cargoes like the fertilizer and our repeat pipe shipments that'll be coming in starting this month, something that'll last for years to come. So kind of proud of those things, and some of the infrastructure investments like the harbor crane, buying that in California was an adventure I'll always remember. And you know, some of the new buildings we built, new track, new laydown area. So it's been a lot of memories, and time flies, I guess, is the moral of the story.
And over the years, what kind of changes have you seen to the port?
Well, I saw the end of the wheat board, which was a big thing for the grain industry. You know, people would say at that time that nothing changes in 100 years, and then everything changes in 2 years. So that made a big difference for the port, increased the competitiveness of the port, and the grain shipments went up about 25% after that. So it turned out that was a positive thing for the port. And I think there's a big potential to grow the cargo even further in Thunder Bay. The seaway is the most environmentally friendly way to move large amounts of cargo, and we're the farthest inland port in Canada. So that's going to keep us well into the future. And you have to be competitive is the lesson, though. And we've done that. We haven't raised our harbor dues since I've been here. Probably the only port to do that, but we're very mindful of the competitive nature of the business, and we make more money if we get more cargo. So it's based on volume, not raising the price. So we've, it's been quite a ride up to now.
And what about the cargo trends over your years?
Well, as I was saying, we were able to bring some new cargoes to Kiefer. The idea is to bring ships loaded all the way to Thunder Bay and then put grain in for the backhaul. Something like the fertilizer that comes from Morocco, and you load grain and go right back to Morocco. So that's kind of an ideal situation. The pipe from Europe is the same story. So those kind of things have made a difference, I think, and will leave lasting memories with me.
Dryden City Council met recently where they voted to award the local arena's concession services contract. The council also discussed the issues of a temporary building permit for a project on Albert Street.
So that's a renewal contract, so we've got a new vendor coming in this year. And the vendors for public sites, we're trying to loosen the rules a bit to allow for more vendors now that the pandemic's pretty well over. And especially we've had young entrepreneurs that want to start up little vendors in public space like our soccer field, lots of moms and dads and kids there after school in June. So it was a good opportunity for us to make it easier for people to have street vendors, especially the smaller ones where you want entrepreneurs to provide a service to the public. Yeah, there's going to be a large tournament here coming in I think July 21st, 23rd, First Nations tournament. It'll be a first one in our community from this organization. So I understand 26 teams. So yeah, we welcome them to our community, and I hope to have an exciting tournament.
I heard you had some wonderful Canada Day celebrations in which you also took part.
Oh yes, I did take part. I was asked to be in the dunk tank to raise the money for the food bank. You did advertise to be there around 11 o'clock, and I showed up. Lots of young kids testing out their pitching arm, and were very successful. So yeah, it was a good time. And after me, the Dryden firefighters took their seat on the dunk tank, and I don't know what the tally was, but it was a good day for the food bank. Yeah, there's a fire ban, but the fireworks were allowed by the government. So we went ahead with that because we do have a very competent firefighting team that was there on site, as well as the organization that put the fireworks on. We had a great location right at the end of Van Horn, so overlooking the water, shooting them over top of the water, fairly really low flammable site, sort of like a gravel, I guess, grassy patch there. So there was just checking afterwards, make sure we started no fires, because we don't need any more in our region. We've got a lot of fires, and we're hoping that our M&R will continue to monitor and keep them in check.
Is there anything in particular coming up in Dryden that you'd like to share that you're excited about?
Oh, that's a good question. There's a lot of events happening, but what kind of really excites me is that we're able to add almost 100 different units, homes into our area this coming year. We've got the 40-bed seniors home that KDSB is putting in place and should be opening near the end of the year. We've got Ridge Rose Development is putting a 24-unit apartment in North Dryden. That'll hopefully be completed this year, early next year. And we've got two developers, each one's putting in about 20 townhouses, the other one be 8 duplexes. So in total, that's about 100 units in our area. And we know that housing shortages across Ontario. So, Dryden is no different. So we're excited to see, these units coming in this year, early next year. So I'm really, really thankful for the development that's happening. The contractors are, willing to put their work with the city of Dryden and residences, and so this is good news for Dryden for sure.
Local tennis officials remain hopeful the new indoor facility at Chapels Park will open by the end of this year, although city administration is calling that a best-case scenario. Bids are expected to come in for the largest part of the work this week, but there are a number of other steps before the work on the 6-court tennis dome can begin.
Okay, indoor tennis project. We were just looking at the site before we came over here. Just give us a bit of an update. Where are we at right now?
Sure. So we are about a week or so away from getting bid prices for the biggest construction package that's going to be going in. Hopefully, construction starting in September. The package consists of all the site prep, underground services, court construction, drainage, to make the site ready to receive the pre-engineered air-supported building package.
Okay, so we know your goal has been to get this kind of operational this year. It looks like that's still in play, but maybe a challenge. Maybe just tell us where things stand on the timeline from how it's looking right now.
Yeah, for sure. We have still a really good shot at getting things completed this year. Probably a little bit later start for the indoor season as it's turning out. There has been challenges along the way that we've been working through and working out. That's taken a bit more time. But luckily the amount of construction that's involved in getting the site ready for the pre-built, pre-engineered building package is not that extensive. But regardless, we are for sure tied up against the back end of the construction season.
Can you maybe speak to you're eyeing September? You mentioned the work. It's a lot of work that's going to go into it. Is it difficult to ballpark right now? If we started September, how long the process would exactly take?
Well, if we are able to start in September, it'd probably be a good month and a half of work, site prep to get all of that work done. So we'd be butting up right up against October there. And the other thing that we need to do is we need to make sure that the grade beam, the foundation that anchors the bubble down into the ground has time to cure. So yeah, we're tight with time, but we'll see how it goes. And of course, we're hoping for good, healthy competition and fair prices for what we have out for bid.
Do you have any sense, like as it stands, if you're expecting to get multiple bids on this, or is it kind of hard to say until they come in?
It's hard to say until they all come in. The bid package has been posted at the local construction association, and we sent direct invites to 42 companies that operate locally. So we're hoping to get again good, healthy competition and fair prices to complete the stream.
We chat with Kelly Robertson, excuse me, before coming here at City Hall for another event. She gave us a bit of an update on the project. Can you just talk about what your organization needs from the city at this point to move forward on this project?
We've been working very diligently and closely with the city all along. There's a number of agreements that we need to complete with the city, land lease agreement and funding agreement, and a number of sub-agreements and lots of moving parts underneath that. So we have a lot of great people that we've been working with the city and working through a number of the challenges along the way. And once we get all of that in place, we are lining up for the August 28th council meeting, where we're hoping to have everything ready for the council to formally approve and ratify their commitment financially and otherwise to the project.
Have you spoke to the city about that August 28th? Because something Kelly Robertson was mentioning was that would be a best case scenario date for this to come forward to council.
Well, that's what we're gunning for, and hoping that that happens on that schedule.
Okay, so Kelly, I guess we last checked in on the progress on this project in April. I'm wondering if you can maybe just start by just telling us what you can tell us about where things currently stand with the tennis center and moving towards, I guess, like a lease agreement for this project.
Yeah, for sure. So the tennis center, Thunder Bay Community Tennis Center, has been working very hard. They're the lead on the project, and they've engaged a project manager to help them with the engineered design. And my understanding is they're getting very close to being able to provide the city with an updated site plan of the project, and so we await that. They also are, my understanding is they have developed some tender packages that they have issued, and that's going to help them acquire revised financial estimates that the city is waiting for, because the resolution from council on this project is council had allocated up to $1.5 million as a financial contribution, subject to the city admin completing our financial due diligence review. So the tennis center has done a great job at fundraising. They've raised a minimum of $3.2 million, including the potential $1.5 million from the city from various sources, and they continue to fundraise. So when they get the response and the bids back from this procurement exercise that they're doing, they'll be able to provide the city with updated and firm bid pricing on all of the requirements to complete the project. And that's going to help the city complete its due diligence review to make recommendations to council on the advancement of this project. The other work that's been going on since late March is the two parties have been negotiating the lease agreement. So this project is going to be located at Chapels Park. And because it's a tennis center project, there's a need for the city and the tennis center to agree on the terms of the tennis center being able to access city lands to have the project. And so those negotiations are ongoing. And lots of work being done on both sides, so that's moving along as well. And that would be a prerequisite for us to present to council and recommend, the terms as the parties negotiate them. And that's a prerequisite before the tennis center can proceed with construction on the site as well.
There's probably some really obvious examples, but is this something the city has done, and if so, if it has done it commonly, like in terms of leasing space to a community group to run recreation programming?
Well, the most recent example that I can think of is a cultural example, the Thunder Bay Art Gallery. So the Thunder Bay Art Gallery has a lease agreement with the city on lands at the waterfront.
Okay. Can you talk about, you talked about needing to receive some financial due diligence information. I'm assuming that includes a business plan, but can you run us through what does the city need to see before giving approval on this in terms of finances?
Yeah, certainly. Well, the tennis center did, with financial support from the city, complete a feasibility study. Actually, there were two versions of the study way back when. I think it was in 2019. Their project was kind of different than what it's turned out to be today, but that was the first version of the business plan. And then they revised that business plan a year later when they made the decision to upgrade the facility to include 6 courts. And so the business plan does exist, but what the city has asked the tennis center to do is to provide current information. So that business plan, the most recent one, was completed in 2020. It's now 2023, and so the city will be looking to have current information, and the tennis center has provided us since 2020, bits and pieces of information current at that time. But in addition to the revised capital estimates for all elements of the project, the city has requested a current draft operating budget from the tennis center. I guess that would be based also on updates to their business plan, perhaps about their membership revenues and numbers they expect to have, and the type of programming that they're going to offer and that kind of thing. That was all in the business plan. Other components of that would be kind of a life cycle renewal kind of plan. And anyways, those are some of the main components. So what the city is going to be looking at is, once we get the information from the tennis center on the financial piece, is to look at all of the funds the tennis center has raised, including the upset limit of the city funding. So the total project funding that's in place, and they're going to compare that to the cost to construct the project, and hopefully funding they have can cover that cost and maybe a contingency as well. And they're going to look at the updated business plan information as well as the draft operating project, because the city wants to make sure that the tennis center is going to be successful and be able to sustain their operations with the new indoor facility as well. So I think those are some of the key pieces.
Thanks for joining us for today's edition of Word for Word. We'll be back tomorrow with more interviews from across the Northwest.